Hello, I'm 72 Winnebago, and this is the Most Hated Character series. On this installment, we'll finally be wrapping up Twisted Metal characters, as I take a look at the currently hated characters within the game franchise. Now, after going through all the characters that are currently being used, I narrowed it down to only 4. Why only 4, you ask? Well, because I feel that these 4 characters are the only ones people really have a problem with. Anyway, let's get started, shall we? The first character on this list is a character I've actually come to enjoy, and that's 12-Pack. Now, for those of you who don't know, 12-Pack was one of those characters that never made it into the final game, but they brought him back for the lost levels. Anyway, the main problem people seem to have with 12-Pack is the storyline. While I definitely feel that the story is original, they feel as though it's too absurd and goofy to be in the Black storyline. They feel it might be better used in Head On, and to a certain extent, I kinda have to agree. Then there's the little matter of 12-Pack special weapon, better known as the Right Tickle. Now, if that name sounds familiar, it should. You see, the Right Tickle was one of many standard weapons you could find in Twisted Metal Black. Apparently, because 12-Pack never made it to the game, they still liked a special weapon, so they put that in there. Now, of course, when Lost Levels came out, they were able to properly give 12-Pack his special weapon. Now, the first big problem is, there's no clear indication that his special weapon is the reticle. I'll be honest, took me about a friggin' week to figure this out. Second, the special weapon is kind of a pain in the ass to use. Allow me to explain. You see, his special weapon works like this. You hit the button once, and there's a countdown timer. The longer you wait, the more missiles you will fire, similar to Roadkill. However, there are 2 noticeable differences. One, to activate the weapon, you hit it once. Once you're ready to fire it, you hit it again. The second part is where it kind of becomes a problem. You see, once you activate the weapon, you lock onto a car. The longer you stay locked on, the more missiles you fire off. However, if you should switch to another car, the number of missiles you fire off goes back down to 1, and it kind of screws you over. However, if you stay locked onto a car just long enough, you will do some pretty big damage. Okay, moving on, the next character is Manslaughter. Now, when Manslaughter first debuted in Twisted Metal Black, the opinion on him was split like 50-50. You had those gamers who liked him, and you had the gamers who did not like him. The gamers that did like him were mostly the old school and hardcore gamers who've been playing Twisted Metal since day one. The people who did not like him came off more like the casual gamer and noobs. The main area of complaint concerning Manslaughter is that gamers thought he was too strong and too overpowered to be a regular character. I can only imagine that their initial reaction went something like this. Damn it! I lost again! It's because you use Manslaughter. He's too big. He's too powerful. It's just not fair. I can't beat him. You know what? You can't use Manslaughter anymore because Manslaughter is cheating. If you use Manslaughter, you're cheating. Now I'm gonna go to the corner and I'm gonna cut myself because I'm an emo. To that I say, if you think that using a really strong, really powerful character is cheating, well, I think you're an idiot and a crybaby. Especially if you react like that. Look, just because somebody uses a strong character or maybe even a boss character doesn't mean they're unstoppable. Believe me, they can be beaten. Oh boy. Anyway, the last 2 characters are gonna be from Twisted Metal Head On. And I have a feeling you know who I'm talking about. The first character I want to talk about is ATV. Personally, one character I can't stand. First off, his name, ATV. You know, when it came to car names, I always thought that Mime had the worst name of all. But no, it's ATV. I mean, what kind of name is ATV? That is so uncreative. I mean, at the very least, they could have at least named him after the driver, Genie Ruddish. You could have called him Genie, or Gene, or Ruddish. That would have been better. But no, we get stuck with ATV. Second, ATV is extremely weak in the armor department. In fact, I think Mr. Grimm is stronger than he is. In fact, I'd like to know, has anyone beaten the game with ATV without using any cheats? I'd like to know. Because I sure haven't. And last but not least, ever since Twisted Metal Black, whenever you select a weapon, it will pop out of a hidden compartment located in the car. However, in the case of ATV, there are no hidden compartments for the weapons to pop out of, which strikes me as kinda odd. I mean, they can do it for Mr. Grimm, but they can't do it for ATV. Now, I could understand them not doing it on the PSP version, but on the PlayStation 2 version? I mean, what the hell? Anyway, that being said, let us move on to the one character I know for a fact everybody's been hating on. I speak none other than, of course, Cousin Eddie. Now, Cousin Eddie first appeared in Twisted Metal Head-On as a mid-level boss, and of course is a very affectionate spoof on Cousin Eddie from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, or at least the RV part is, anyway. As far as Cousin Eddie goes, there are three things people do not like about him. First off, his character. You see, Cousin Eddie is portrayed as, oh, how should I put this? A redneck retard. Apparently, where he comes from, cousins married cousins, and that led to years of inbreeding and retardation. The problem people have with his character is that they find it extremely annoying and extremely stupid. Now, as for me personally, I don't really have a problem with his character. In fact, I find it very creative. Miles ahead of the other idiot known as the Trash Man. Now, secondly, in the championship mode when you fight against him, like halfway through the game, he's actually pretty hard to beat. However, once you unlock him, you will find that he's not as strong as he was in the championship mode. You see, even though Cousin Eddie has a ton of armor, he's incredibly slow, making for an easy target. So, when playing as Cousin Eddie, it's a real struggle to stay alive. In fact, playing as Cousin Eddie is the real fight for your life. And fighting against Cousin Eddie is a fucking joke. In the game, usually he's the second person to die, but sometimes he's the first person to die, even before ATV, who is the weakest vehicle in the whole game. The bottom line is, in Championship mode, Cousin Eddie was pretty tough to beat, but once you unlock him, he's really not that special, and it was a real disappointment. And now we come to the number one reason why people hate Cousin Eddie. I found the main reason people hate Cousin Eddie is that he took the place of another popular character. I speak none other than Minion. You see, after Twisted Metal 1, the character of Minion had always taken the role of playing a mid-level boss, even in 3 and 4, and even in Black. However, after Twisted Metal Black, Minion kinda fell off the radar. I mean, he wasn't even involved in the spin-off Small Brawl, and he was notably absent in Lost Levels, and was technically replaced by Cousin Eddie. I say replaced because Cousin Eddie has to be beaten the same way you beat Minion in Twisted Metal Black. You have to take down all his force fields, and only then can you attack him directly. Anyway, when I found out that Minion had been pretty much ignored yet again, yeah, I was pretty upset. I was a little bit peeved. However, that is nothing compared to how other fans of the game reacted. Most of the reactions kind of went along the lines of, "You dare not put Minion in this game, and instead you give us a redneck retard? For that, you must die!" So, yeah. Given these reactions, I have to say without a shadow of a doubt, Cousin Eddie, you are the most currently hated character within the Twisted Metal franchise. Anyway, that will do it for this episode of the Most Hated Character series. Now, even though I have pretty much wrapped up the Twisted Metal characters, there's still a lot of other franchises I want to talk about, and I will. Eventually. Like, you know, man, when I get the one, I'm gonna take her back and do the oh ho ho ho. I'm so glad I can't understand a word you're saying.